there, this is Tati, and welcome to the TNA Post Show. As always, I'm joined by my co-host. He's the fourth rascal. He allegedly has no relation to Steve Macklin. He's the star of the show. He's the one and only Bart Macklin.
How's it going?
It's going good. There are quite a few things to talk about, but before we get into tonight's show, I just want to remind our viewers that this week's podcast is sponsored by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's made up not psychedelics, but 4 powerful mushroom adaptogens. It has lion's mane, which includes focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that move, it will actually stick in your head rather than forgetting it immediately. It has cordyceps, which increases the O2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It has relish, which decreases stress. I cannot pronounce that. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system, and we all know you need that on those nasty ass gym mats. And on top of that, it has 12 grams of protein. Go to eatshroombar.com and use code BODYSUM at checkout for 25% off your first order.
Definitely.
Right? All right. So let's kick things off talking about the ending to tonight's show, which was the Frankie Kazarian segment. So Joe Hendry suffered a pretty nasty injury, which we later learned is a 3rd grade torn motive cuff, which we'll talk about later on in the show. And as suspected, Frankie Kazarian announces he is calling his shot in his hometown, his backyard, the West Coast, the best coast, and in the City of Angels, my hometown, LA. No surprise there. I mean, we were expecting this, right?
Yeah, but first let me just say, especially when they show you the slow-mo of what happened, I would go ahead and pull the trigger on the Elias heel turn now, just because you could say that he was the one that he was the one that injured Joe Hendry, even though if it was not malicious, it's the way you could spin it like that. I know he kind of grabbed his arm. That's what it looked like. Even I think Hannafan alluded to it. Kazarian calling his shot, and then especially with the ending, and we'll talk about that. I'm sad. I don't think Kazarian's winning.
I'm a little confused because I'll get to why I'm confused. But so as he's talking, he talks about how he's going to become TNA World Champion. He gets interrupted by all ego Ethan Page killing him with a smile. And Ethan Page says there's fans in the building because, as we all know, the last time Ethan Page was in TNA, unfortunately, it was during the pandemic era, and there were no fans. So Page and Kaz go back and forth here, and Ethan Page reveals that he's the one he's going to face Joe Hendry at Rebellion. Because according to him, he has defeated a healthy Hendry. Kaz attempts to attack Ethan Page, but Page knocks him down, and we find out via social media that it's going to be a triple threat. It's going to be Frankie Kazarian versus Ethan Page versus Joe Hendry for the world title at Rebellion. So I'm a little confused because I thought Frankie Kazarian was calling his shot. So is this title match his shot, or would he could still cash in at the end?
No, I think he's calling his shot in the sense it was going to be him and Joe Hendry, and then they're inserting Ethan Page, I believe. So, but it also could play out where Frankie Kazarian could wait till the end of the match and try to cash in. You know what I mean? That's what I would think he should do. I think that's how they should book it. As far as Ethan Page, when I have to say, people are going to be like, are you serious? But you know what? It's our show, so I don't care. Ethan Page, before he got in the ring, he made a little kind of joke how, there's fans here now. He's not used to that. I don't know if Joe Hendry's injury is legit. I don't think it is. I'm assuming he's going to be in the match. I'd put the title on Ethan Page, even if it's temporary, only because, for a couple reasons. One, we've been waiting for. I never thought it would be the world title that would switch hands, even in this brand split. I mean, this brand partnership. But one, Ethan Page is a TNA guy. I always will think of him as that. Two, he said in his promo, and I think and a lot of people would agree. I think him and him in the North, Josh Alexander, they were one of the people who carried that brand during the pandemic. You know what I mean? They were one of like the top. They were two of the top guys. They were carrying that show every week. They were stars. And so I would love to see him get a run with the world title, especially since he alluded to there were no fans for predominantly his TNA run. So again, I don't know the injury status of Ethan Page. Help me out, Joe Hendry. So I don't know, but you know that injury, it sounded more serious and like just something they would just like kind of make up. You know what I mean? It kind of sounded a little specific. It was a 3rd-degree tear of the rotator cuff, I believe he said, or sprain. But yeah, because I don't think Kazarian's winning, especially going back to what we've been talking about. There's too many people, I think, in a short amount of time, they're going to put the title on ahead of him. So I could see Ethan winning just, because Joe Hendry could be hurt.
Joseph says a unique event for Rebellion, especially with the injury report. GM Miller dropped on the ring, said Doctor, grade 3 rotor cuff injury. Who knows if Joe is clear for Rebellion? Ethan was beating then world champion Tessa Blanchard. They had a great match. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. This was before I started watching TNA. So I was surprised to see Ethan Page. I was not expecting him back. I'm kind of bummed Josh Alexander is no longer in TNA. I would have loved for them to have a moment, you know?
You started watching TNA when the North were there, though, right?
I started watching TNA in July of 2020. So it was really the tail end of the North.
Okay. Yeah, because because there were fans obviously when Ethan was there. It wasn't as a lot, but yes, you're right. Because he did go to eat. I remember him being in AEW during the pandemic a little bit as well. So yeah, but still, they were one of like the top teams, and I do think maybe not top 3, but you can make an argument that they're the top 5 team. I think they're the longest reigning TNA tag champs of all time. That definitely warrants being top 5 in the history of the division. So, yeah, I think it's plausible Ethan could win. And again, selling him on being the first, and even the world title, being the first person from NXT to win the title, he's a TNA guy. To me, it'd be like Christian from when he was in AEW winning back the TNA title. It'd be something similar like that to me.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess you just gotta wait and see how this plays off. We don't know if Joe Henry's injury is legit or not, or it's complete kayfabe. I haven't read anything, but this is an interesting way to end tonight's show, don't you think?
Definitely. Just because I think the Ethan Page crossing the line was kind of, I think a lot of people were probably thinking for it and just thinking it made a lot of sense. So I'm glad it finally happened.
Io says just when Josh left, his former partner arrives, right?
That'd be funny if Josh came back. If now Josh would, well, that's probably not going to happen. I think he's in AEW now, so that's where he was rumored. So I don't think that's happened. But yeah, that is funny.
Yeah, right. All right, so TNA with Frankie Kazarian versus Elijah with Joe Hendry on commentary. Tom Hannafan mentions that Kaz is wearing blue and white, which according to Joe Hendry is gimmick infringement. During this match, Frankie Kazarian attacks Joe Hendry while he's commentary, and he gets a fast one on Elijah with a handful of tights. He steals the victory. And at the end, Henry attacks Frankie Kazarian. The security attempt to separate Joe Hendry and Kaz. And it's during this brawl, Elijah, he pulls Joe Hendry. And that's when they say that the injury occurred. Backstage, the doctor says that Henry needs to go to the hospital to make sure his shoulder isn't torn. And it's his job to take care of Joe Hendry. Again, it's just pro wrestling. Accidents do happen. I don't know if this injury is legit or if it's complete kayfabe. What do you think?
Well, because the thing in WWE, they always say when WWE, it's either like a contusion, and then obviously they always say a medical facility, which that's just always what they say anyway. But the injury when they make it in WWE always sounds so generic. But this just sounds like it could be somewhat, you know what I mean? Like, obviously not as serious, but there obviously could be something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me see. What does Joseph says? This is outside of Frankie Kazarian. I have been NXT talent would challenge Joe at Rebellion. I'm intrigued how Hendry gets ready for Rebellion. Will have his Terrence. Also, never seen Hendry that mad because Kazarian must be a nuisance too much. He is a nuisance. Okay. So I just looked it up. It says a grade 3 rotacuff tear is also known as full thickness or complete tear. It involves a complete rupture of the tendon from the bone, leading to significant pain, weakness, and potential loss of function. That sounds.
So yeah, like let's say Joe had to give up the title. Again, we don't know if this is kayfabe or legit or a little bit of each, but yeah, that definition sounds a lot more serious. You know what I mean? He didn't seem to be in that much pain. Again, these are tough. These are tough people, wrestlers in general. So, but still, I don't know. That does sound serious.
It does. Joseph says 50-50. I'm wondering if this injury is a storyline to explain why Joe won't be at Unbreakable. This feels like a canon show during Mania Week. Okay. I don't know. I guess we have to wait and see as the weeks go on.
Unbreakable is obviously in 2 weeks away, and then obviously Rebellion. There'll be 3 impacts, obviously, because there's an impact on and then Unbreakable on the same night. 3 impacts left till then. And again, that's less than 30 days if you're like going by the 30-day rule or whatever. You know what I mean? But this obviously is taped. But still, yeah, I'm interested now. Doing an injury angle this close to 2 big shows is interesting.
Yeah. Assuming it is an injury angle.
And obviously that could be maybe why they brought Ethan in, or they're having Kazarian cash in. You know what I mean?
I guess we just have to just keep watching. You guys make sure you tune in just in case we get an update next week or something like that.
Because also, like I could totally see a situation where it becomes a triple threat, and the final image is Kazarian pinning Ethan, which obviously doesn't hurt Joe, just because the argument he can make, he didn't get pinned and he was going to get injured. So, and I think that'd be a very creative finish.
Yeah. All right. So next we get a system segment. So they didn't air this during the show last week. They actually aired this on YouTube, on social media. Apparently, there was a segment last week, which I didn't see, involving the system. Eddie Edwards seemed like he almost quit the system, but again, he gave him an ultimatum. So that's what this was a follow up to that. Bert, did you see that segment on social media exclusive?
No, but I feel like it's all for nothing now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was kind of dumb. Like I'm almost wondering if just for one night Russo was booking, because this would seem like a total swerve. You know what I mean? I mean, not as they swerved and then swerved, just for the fact that, like, for them not to break. Don't get me wrong. There were parts I loved. I like Dango saying "shut up, town." You know, not even acknowledging them. Obviously, I like Alicia. For a minute there, I almost was like, is he going to kick out Alicia? I thought it was going to be either Alicia or Moose. You know what I mean? Just because Alicia for shock factor, and same with Moose, just because he is the X Division champion. But yeah, whatever though. This is fine. Heels do this kind of stuff all the time.
I mean, you remember now with Honor No More, Lish was in a part of that faction. She actually tried to steer him away from that faction.
Yeah.
So this whole segment I thought was kind of odd because, like you said, they didn't break up, but I did think it was interesting that Moose got interrupted by Cody Deaner before he even got a chance to talk. And basically, the crowd boos with Moose staying in the system, and they cheer for him being out of the system. And this is when Moose attacks Cody Deaner, and the entire system attack Cody Deaner. So I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that the system has lasted this long because, as we all know, Moose has a history of turning on his partners. He is the only champion in the system, so I'm really surprised that hasn't happened yet.
Diener coming out there, I didn't think that added anything to it. I was kind of stupid. And especially, like you said, the people keep leading him down the wrong path. He needs to stop listening to them. But again, this was fine. I get heels do this stuff all the time. Reminding me a little bit of that segment from Raw years back when it was Jericho and Kevin Owens teasing a breakup. But then they just started cutting a promo on Roman Reigns. It was very funny. You know what I mean? And they hugged. You know what I mean? I loved it. Heels do that. This was fine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I like when they cut a promo and you learn. I didn't know that Eddie Edwards has known Dango longer than anyone up there, including his wife. That he said they teamed on the Indies. So I thought that was really interesting. I like that.
Yeah, same. Oh my god, that they've been teaming for a long time. Especially because I didn't know Jacy was in the Salem years to TNA. There's like a clip of him.
I did not know that either. Damn.
Yeah.
But
wow.
But you know, if you go back to, which I need to go back, because again, I started watching 2009. You watch some of those shows, the amount of people that would pop up for a few appearances. You know what I mean? They've had every. You know, I'm pretty sure CM Punk was in TNA for a brief minute.
That's true. All right, so we get a Masha Slamovich and Brookside Lee interview, and Brookside says she feels great, but couldn't find a single friend. TNA had to run to NXT to find backup. Lee says that Tessa's problem is now, I think she says Jazmyn's problem, and then Masha says that Tessa has burnt every single bridge, and they will send Jayne and NXT packing back to NXT. So obviously, you know, they're just talking about their main event match tonight.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just a run-of-the-mill interview.
Mm-hmm.
So afterwards, you get a follow-up segment to the system where Marella says, announced that Leon Slater and Matt Cardona are going to be in the Ultimate X match. And Eddie Edwards is in the all-need matches. So Santino Marella says that next week they all have matches. So we'll see how that plays out for them.
Yeah, so and we found out that like you said, Leon Slater and who was the other person that's already in the match?
Matt Cardona.
And we also got another name announced later that I'm very hyped for.
Same. Speaking of a women's tag team match, it's Spitfire versus Jakara, Jackson, and Lash Legend. You know, Jakara, Jackson, and Lash Legend looked great out there. I think this is the first match in TNA. So I thought it was, you know, I've seen them before. And we're gonna sacrifice the title, the Knockout Tag title. I definitely wouldn't mind being it the Knockout titles. And Jakara, Jackson, and Lash Legend, I think will make history.
I love Metaphor. I wouldn't even mind if Noam Dar and Oro Mensah come over sometime too. Just I think Metaphor is so great. Yeah, I love Lash and Jakara. Once again, and I'll even talk about it more again later. For some reason, and maybe just because, you know, this is something TNA's always done. The women's division has always been on the same level as every other division. Just again, Lash and Jakara look better than I'd seen. And it's not like they look bad in TNA, but just the way that they booked them tonight, they look phenomenal. Getting a big win against Spitfire. This was great. More of this.
Former Knockout Tag Team champion. So that's a statement. That's a statement.
Yeah.
And Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxton were watching backstage. So again, you know, maybe we're gonna get a 3-way for those Knockouts Tag titles once Ash by Elegance returns from vacation. I also says NXT. Yep.
Definitely.
Commentary and her besties were out there.
Yeah. I love how many besties she has.
Yeah.
She's very popular.
Huh?
She's very popular.
She is. So Mike Santana approaches Santino and introduces his boy Derek and thanks him for giving Derek a spot on the I guess on the team. And Marella says that he will show Derek around. So if we saw, was kind of like, okay, this is definitely going to lead to something. And as well, later on in the night what it leads into. The Hardys got a promo, and they're basically talking about how at some point everybody in pro wrestling reveals their true character. They talk about Nick Nemeth and how they liked Nemeth, how they respected and trusted him. He's 33 years. My God, I'm 32. So they've been in this business since 1992.
That makes me feel very old.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Io says Hannafin was a bully to Ariana on commentary. Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, I think Ariana's like, why do I have to sit next to you? And Hannah, and then Ray Wall's like, I wonder that every week. Like, it was very. Hannafin and Ray Wall are the best commentary duo in wrestling. People need to start taking.
I love their banter.
No one sells disgust for the heels. Like Hannafin reminds me of like JR, or someone had said Gorilla Monsoon back. You can just feel his disgust for the heels.
So Matt Hardy wants him to get a close-up of the scar on his nose, and it's a symbol that he's still broken. I don't have a scar, so we're not gonna zoom in on that. Let me see. What does Joseph say? Many different jobs for like where they were taken seriously. Outside of WWE, TNA does a great job showcasing the Hardy Boys. Yes, they do. So that's the of pro wrestling. The Nemeth brothers are stand-up comedians, and this is their goat joke. So I've actually never seen their stand-up comedy. I don't know if they're like hilarious. Have you seen their stand-up comedy?
I've seen a little of Nick Nemeth.
Is he funny?
Let me just say, with being polite, it was okay. I didn't know Ryan Nemeth was a comedian. That's interesting. But yeah, I'm trying to be polite here.
Anybody in the chat has seen the Nemeth brothers stand-up comedy outside, and let us know what you guys thought in the live chat or in the comment section down below. I'm very curious to see their stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So Jeff says that they are insane if they think that they're going to take the tag titles at Rebellion, and they made the biggest mistake of their life not finishing the job. So they're interrupted by, let's just call them the cabinet of the Great Hands and Tasha Steelz. And John Skyler calls the Hardys icons, celebrities, and legends. But he says it's 2025, not 1999. Basically, Skyler says that Mustafa Ali and to do bigger and better things. And they make it known that they got their eyes set on the tag title. Santino Marella out match says that if the Great Hands win, or as he called them, the Great Hams, we the tag title opportunity. So this leads into the Great Hands versus the Hardys. Io says, well, he sucks as a wrestler, so he must be a comedian.
Let me just say, sometimes I watch Impact and I think to myself, are they booking it for me and you? Because how many times, especially you should be in this faction for how much you've been wanting the newly Super Saiyan Gray Hands to get a big opportunity. This was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, so finally, like, because again, the cabinet will be, and I like how we're calling it that because it's a great name. And again, there'll be a better version of the cabinet was JBL, right? And Orlando Jordan. Okay, so was Sean part of that?
The Basham brothers.
Oh, was Shawn Michaels a part of that as well? Because wasn't he like with JBL?
So the cabinet was Orlando Jordan, JBL, and Doug and Danny, the Basham brothers.
Okay.
They did do a storyline with like HBK working with JBL, but that came later.
Okay. Well, yeah, this is going to be a great faction, and to me, when you build a faction, it always should have like a pecking order, and also it should get people like just how we want with Sinner and Saint in the Northern Armory. This faction should not only get Tasha over and back to where she needs to be, but this needs to get the Gray Hands over even more. So I would hopefully again, now that I'm looking at it, they would benefit from beating the Hardys. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Nemeths are going to beat them. But yeah, more of the great hands getting opportunities, please.
I also said Canada had been busy. So yeah, they were busy, all right. So this leads into an impromptu match: the Great Hands versus the Hardys. This was actually a good match. I will die on this hill. The Great Hands are so underrated and so underappreciated. They don't have to have a long title reign. Have a win at, let's say, Slammiversary, and you hold it at least until the next live event or TNA Plus special. And, it's not too much to ask for. They're so great. They're great at what they do. I just would like to see them have a short title reign.
Hell, they could even have multiple ones just because this tag division's hot right now, and it seems to be one of the focal points of the company. Just there's tag teams everywhere, so.
Exactly. So, of course, no surprise, the Hardys win because I do think it's going to be the Hardys versus the Nemeth brothers, with the Nemeth brothers taking titles at Rebellion. Speaking of the Nemeth brothers, Ryan is watching backstage when he begins clapping for them, and then Leon Slater first, he jumps Ryan. They seem to get into a brawl, but security breaks them up. So obviously, Leon Slater and Ryan Nemeth have some unfinished business here.
Definitely, yeah. And I'm looking forward to that just because more Leon Slater, please. He's the future of TNA.
He's definitely going to break a April, so he's got what? He turns 20 September. He turns 21 September, so he's got 6 more months to go. Roughly 6 more months.
And then Io reminded us last week, I believe Tessa's the youngest world champion, so that he's got 5 years to beat that record as full 4. So, which I think he'll do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, before we move on, this week's podcast is sponsored by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's made up of not psychedelics, but 4 powerful mushroom adaptogens. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that new move will actually stick in your head rather than forgetting immediately. It has cordyceps, which increases VO2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It has reishi, which decreases stress. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system, which we know you're going to need when you're on those nasty-ass gym mats. On top of all that, it has 12 grams of protein. Go to eatshroombar.com and use code BODYSLAM at checkout for 25% off your order. Your first order.
Oh, so make sure you check out Shroom Bar.
Yeah.
The official sponsor of the Body Sun podcast. Hey, Antonio, how are you?
What's up, Antonio?
All right, so this week we get the Joe Hendry medical update. The MIR was done, and it was discovered that, as we said earlier, Joe Hendry has a grade 3 severe sprain on his rotator cuff. And it's according to a doctor, and this is what makes me think it's kayfabe. According to a doctor, it's a bad injury, and some people recover quicker and longer, but it depends on the person. So him saying that kind of makes me think it's kayfabe, because why would he say that if it was a legitimate injury? I don't know right here.
Oh. Yeah.
Huh?
Especially the way that he said that, like, oh, we believe in Joe Hendry. We all believe. Yeah, you're right. You're complete. Now I'm on the kayfabe wagon. So I think they'll try to. This is just a way to keep him off TV for a little bit.
Yeah, unless we get like an update, news report update or something, where I think this is a kayfabe injury.
I know it's a different injury, but I doubt he comes out like Cody Rhodes, where his shoulder was completely purple when he faced Rollins. You know what I mean? I doubt, because that was insane. I still remember that. So I doubt it's, you know what I mean? I'm more siding with you on this. Especially because, yeah, again, the doctor's saying we believe I believe, was a little corny. So I'm going kayfabe.
Yeah, Cody Rhodes had a torn pectoral. So yeah, this is not the same thing. So I'm also gonna go kayfabe here. Yeah, unless otherwise stated, I think this is kayfabe.
Yeah, it would be crazy if he came out like, oh, and his shoulder looked, like, because I believe that's like kind of right here, pecs right here. I think it's the rotator cuff.
Yeah, it's
So like,
the rotator cuff,
yeah.
right?
So like, if he did come out like that, like, shit, okay, unless they just put all that color on there. But yeah, I'm going kayfabe. This seemed a little, but you know what though? Again, we talked about the shout. Gia is not getting enough praise. The way that she sells like concern, like, you know what I mean? I bought that it was a real, you know what I mean? She looked concerned, you know what I mean? So shout out to Gia in this segment.
Joseph says, and the fact that Doctor didn't give GA a timeline is why I'm leaning towards this is how they explain Joe Henry won't be at a breakable. I don't expect storylines to continue on that show. Remember, Triple Threat is happening in Rebellion. Yes, we know. What's up, Jeffrey? Yep. So, I guess, like I said, I guess you just gotta wait and see. We'll find out in the coming weeks whether it's kayfabe or legit, or So we'll see. Anyway,
yeah, I don't mind if there's no TNA World Title shot in Unbreakable. I don't mind getting as much NXT and TNA talent on the pay-per-view, and so a bunch of like tag matches and multi-man matches would be fine with me if that's what it ends up being.
Same. Okay, so next, Steph Delander and Mance Warner out. And she basically welcomes everybody to the reign of the greatest digital media champion. They're there to celebrate and party. Mance Warner says that they are champion stars, headliners, and they're on the cover of magazine. Know that they were on the cover of TNA magazine, or was that fake?
I don't know. I didn't know TNA had a magazine. Someone help us out. Is that real, or was that just kind of like, like when you go get like one of those photos taken somewhere and they can make like a fake background? You know what I mean? Was that a real magazine?
I don't think so, but so
I'm just because if it's real, if it's real, I'm trying to think who would have been on the cover over the years. Like just off the top of my head, I'm hoping like during like 2012, Joseph Park was on the cover a lot because he was a big star during he was a big, you know what I mean. So I wonder if it is real.
Right. All right. So SDL says that they were in TNA and they will rule the world. Santino Marella comes out. He gets in between them because they're making out. He says Steph Delander cannot inherit the title from a divorce, and he was going to take the title back tonight. He reveals that at Unbreakable, there will be a tournament to crown the first international champion. This tournament is a tribute to the three-way match of Samoa Joe, Daniels, one of the. I feel like the match that put TNA on the map.
Yeah.
And as a tribute to that match, every match will be a three-way, and Santino orders SCL to give him the title. She doesn't want to. And then Sammy attacks Mance Warner with the bat and sends him crashing through the table. So I'm hoping with this international title, they do more with it than they did with the digital media title. The digital media title, as we know, and I sound like a broken record, they didn't do much with that title. I was so disappointed. They could have done so much more, used Explosion, but they didn't. So I'm hoping with this international title, they do a lot more.
Oh, maybe
Your thoughts on this?
What was that?
Your thoughts on this?
First off, I think we also kind of talked about and kind of saying that all these matches should be, we didn't know about this, but we talked about how going into Breakable that there should be a lot of triple threat matches, just kind of in tribute to that original one that wasn't on the first Unbreakable. Also, hopefully, since it's going to be on I would like to see some. We got our first match, I think, announced next week. It's AJ versus Mance versus Sammy. I would assume AJ moves on. I don't think Sammy and Mance take each other out. But and hopefully we get some NXT talent in this because that would be awesome as well. But yeah, I really like this segment. It's disappointing that the DMC title is going away, but at the same time, what better way to like, they're not getting rid of a title, but just kind of like starting fresh. You know what I mean? Because, it's not like I've heard anything or like why they're getting rid of it, but it's kind of sour. You know what I mean? It's kind of tainted a little bit, just the way that it's been booked lately. So yeah, let's start fresh. And I like the idea of an international title just because TNA has always had a partnership with a lot of different companies. So seeing this title defended in a lot of different promotions, I think it will probably be the goal.
I have to say, I really did enjoy the dot combat matches. I thought those were really fun. Who can forget when Joe Hendry? I'll never forget when Joe Hendry flipped off Moose with the Sega. That was great.
And also just real quick, now I'm thinking about in terms of who should win this, because we don't know, and who should win this match. And ultimately being, because I don't think it's going to be Mance that wins this. I would like to see it be somebody who, like for example, if Eddie's in this tournament, because I think that would make him really. I think that one step higher than a Grand Slam champion. You know what I mean? It would be nice. So I would definitely put on someone more established, opposed to someone just starting out in TNA. But that's just my opinion.
We'll go over who's in the matches later, but after this, the Cabinet, they kidnap Derek. They literally throw him in the trunk of a car. How is this not a crime? They kidnapped him on TV.
It almost reminded me of a Grand Theft Auto mission, the way this was shot.
Yeah. So they take him to talk to Mustafa Ali. And Mustafa Ali brings up this accident that Derek was responsible for. And he mentions the little girl won't walk again. He spits in Derek's face. And, Hutch basically says, why did he let him go? And Ali says he's an addict. They destroy themselves. And then later on in the night, you get Mike Santana. He sent him to wake up Derek and ask him if he's good. And Derek apologizes to Santana. So clearly, Mustafa Ali is not done with Mike Santana like he said he was.
You know what? The more and more this stuff goes on, I'm only okay with it in my head just because I'm assuming Santana is. But they are like, it's like they're walking on. It is very wow. Like they're going really hard with the addict stuff. You know what I mean? So, but still, it's making for some very compelling storytelling.
Same. They're pushing people's buttons with that.
Yeah.
Especially if people are watching our addicts themselves or former addicts' sake. I'm sure they're pushing people's buttons. But that's what makes a good heel, right?
Yeah.
So next we get an Ella brand segment. And we find out from the personal ones here that Ash is on vacation because she needed a break. And he reveals that he's had his eye on Maggie Lee on Explosion and says that they can make her remarkable, that they want to basically take her under her wing, make her elegant. See, I was not thinking about that when it was revealed that Maggie Lee signed last week, but I think she would make a great fit for the Elegance brand. It'll be a trio.
Yes.
She has follow them too. So I can't wait to see what they do with Maggie Lee.
And if that happens, I've been calling, saying maybe the Fatal Influence is the Beautiful People 2.0, but maybe it could be the Elegance brand. Especially if they add Maggie Lee. So that'd be really good.
Yeah, definitely. So El Hijo de Maggie returned to Ultimate X at Rebel, and that's great. He's been out with an inch. So for that. So we're gonna stick to the main event in the form of Jacy, Jazmyn, and Tessa Blanchard versus Masha, Slamovich, Ying, the entire Brookside Rosemary crowd. I thought all the awesome women killed it. Fatal Influence and Tessa Blanchard win. Tessa beats Masha. She pins her. I don't know how you call that, but this is a great match. I definitely want to see more Fatal Influence in TNA.
First of all, again, going back to what I said, yeah, the way that TNA puts together their matches, I thought Jacy. Everyone shined in this match. Jacy and Jazmyn looked incredible. I thought I'm very happy seeing Ying get more shine. She looked great. Zaya continues to be what I think she's going to be. I don't really want, again, because we saw Rosemary, I'd rather have Zaya just continue to be that next top baby face in the Knockouts division. But yeah, she was great. Yeah, I love Fallon at ringside. This was a really good match. I don't like the finish. Obviously, did you see that? I believe I'm looking at it right now. I think Tessa, it's been announced, Tessa and Masha at Rebellion. I think they've announced that.
I actually did not see that. I have not seen that announcement. Did he announce it?
Yes, the TNA 2 hours ago. It's going to be Masha versus Tessa. What's that, like that old school theory? Like, usually you would think that Tessa wouldn't win just because since Masha's repeatedly been pinned by her, you know what I mean, in non-title situations. Mm. But yeah, I'm scared now. I'm a little worried.
Mm-hmm.
But this match was so good.
It was. Joseph says, yeah, Masha and Tessa is official for the TNA Knockout Champion. Oh, okay. So, last but certainly not least, Santino Marella makes some announcement regarding a national title. At Breakable, there will come the first ever international champion. The first qualified match, which is going to be held at Unbreakable, is Ace Austin Edwards versus Steve Macklin. The second qualified match is Sami Callihan versus Eric Young versus JDC. The third one is Zachary Wentz versus Matt Warner versus AJ Francis. Sami Callihan appears and says he likes to be traded and demands to be put in a match with Matt Warner. And he snatches the ball from that. Is a hilarious segment, honestly. He kept mentioning his balls and stuff like that. Antonio says, Eddie Edwards is my second choice. Steve Macklin is my third. Ace is my first choice.
Yeah.
Right. So basically.
Yeah, now that I saw the Eddie's Ace winning this now, I think should probably be the move. So how many people are going to have me?
I think it's going to be 3.
No. How many people total?
Oh, 9.
9. Okay.
It's 9 people, but each one is going to have a winner. So it's going to be, in the end, it's going to be a 3-way.
Yes. Love it. Yeah. Ace moving on I like what I don't know who just said that, but I like his picks right there because all 3 of those people would, I think, be who should win it. But I don't have a problem with AJ winning it just because I don't think he should have ever lost the digital media title in the first place.
Same. Yeah, we'll see. I think Ace, but Eddie Edwards, okay. I think Ace and Eddie Edwards, Steve Macklin, and AJ Francis are good choices to win the first ever international title. Alrighty, so that's it. We've already talked about everything else. Is there anything else you want to say much before as we get ready to sign off the air?
No. Just like I said, I'm a little worried about that finish and then going into that match just because I don't think Masha should lose. But we'll wait and see. The show was great tonight.
Definitely. It makes sense that this more powerful mushroom adaptants. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it clear to form the pattern you're trying to learn, and you move it will actually stick in your head rather than forgetting the this cord increases blood flow and endurance. It has Reshi, which increases stress. It has Tricky Tail, which boosts your immune system. And we all know that the action max. On top of that, it has 12 grams of protein. So go to eatmore.com at checkout for 25% off your first order.
Yeah, definitely.
Just says in the field of challenge for Ultimate X, you the last spots. I think definitely one is going to be in NXT. All right, so Bert, where can people find you as
Just
on social media?
Just on Twitter at Burmac11.
All right, as for myself, you can follow me on Twitter at @Tessa_talk. Plus my phone, occasionally AEW Dynamite, and of course TNA Wrestling. I go live on my channel Rangers of Rocket every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, till Saturdays and Sundays, and of course catch me Thursday on Body Slap. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching and for the continued support. Please like and subscribe. And make sure you hit the bell so you get notified whenever we go live and whenever Body Slap goes live. And we'll see you guys next week as we're on the road to a big goal. Bye.